But I think after 2 weeks, we already forgot most of the pain. We just remember the camaraderie and then how we worked through it together. Yeah, so I'll begin with a self-introduction myself. Originally,
Okay.
Ermias and Rodrigo and Amy, we came from the same January core class. That's how we met. And we've been running through this networking event. So we always have a vision to do some projects. We noticed about this Connex challenge about Oxfam. And something very new to us is the term called Agile. And we know nothing about it. And we were very new to this business, sort of. And we have the beautiful and wonderful Aditi joining us at the finishing line. And she made a very big contribution to getting the PowerPoint slides and also the data together. So I'll let Aditi introduce herself a little bit. I know she has experience in marketing and actually quite seasoned experience, I would say. Aditi, please go ahead.
Well, I was at ATS last year. I really got on board with it. Well, at my period, I drive everything within marketing, within my background is in design, and apologies for my dog who's probably barking in the background, but hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. So, yeah, well, my background's in design, marketing, as well as in project management. And so I brought all those skills with me to this challenge, and I'm happy I got to work with the entire team here. And I'll pass it back to you. Thanks, Hillary.
Yeah, thanks. Our group formed it within a month, and I really appreciated everybody's input and especially the outcome that we have reached within such a short time. We've approached partners and sponsors for connections, and at the same time running this regular meeting to report the progress and also make fine-tune and adjustments between myself, Ermias, and then everyone else in the group. So yeah, Ermias, do you have a word to say?
I mean, a lot of words to say. I always have words to say. It was a really good, it was a really great project, and I don't know if like this aftermath report that we're gonna do is gonna do it justice. I think just the way we all came together and just like out of the blue, it seemed like, and just the amount of effort I think we all put into it. I don't think we all expected to be meeting on the weekends as frequently as we did, being on WhatsApp pretty much all day talking to each other. I know that I had some withdrawals from WhatsApp after the project kind of ended, just having going from conversations all day, right? Because Hillary's in Hong Kong. So I wake up to messages from Hillary and then it's basically being on WhatsApp the whole time. So I was having some withdrawals from that, I remember. But that was a really great project. Fantastic project all around, I think.
Yes. I would like to also highlight how amazing our members Amy and Rodrigo they've been.
What you guys accomplished, I think it was in the project specifics, and I think to me it came as a surprise sort of at the end that we needed to initiate those partnerships, and I think you guys really pulled that off and kind of came up with a partnership plan that I don't think that they necessarily asked for it in the challenge specifics. We added a little bit of a bonus there, I think, on partnership guidance and like the checklist, and then engaging the partners, which is what they asked, but I don't know what that means. What does initiating a partnership look like for a nonprofit or an NGO? I don't think any of us have ever really done anything like that. And so I hope to see that those relationships flourish that you guys started, and maybe Oxfam can benefit from them in the long.
Yes. So I have a curious question to Amy because I requested Amy to join us, like kind of headhunt her from the very busy January credential readiness course. So she have all these subjects on the side, and she was still approaching the sponsor and partner. I knew that you and Rodrigo came up with a list of people to approach. And would you like to share a bit your methodology in securing it within such a short time, Amy?
To be quite honest, I wasn't sure if we were going to get a lot of like responses from organizations, but I think what really helped me was Rodrigo did like a lot of research on different organizations to reach out to that shared like kind of a commonality as far as Agile's mission and approach. I think from there, I have a lot of background fundraising and like reaching out to corporate sponsors, partners, and I kind of use that approach to, I guess, reach out to different organizations. I think back in the day, sometimes I would even show up in person to different companies that like we're trying to like secure like a donation from. So I think from that, I learned like consistency is key and like follow up. So even if you send one email, it's not enough. You need to be consistent as far as your approach and like wanting to talk to them, like showing your excitement. For me, that translated in emails because a lot of these organizations we reached out to, they were in different countries. So time zone and physical location, it didn't really align with me, but I from there just had to be like creative. Like I would look up some of the people that worked at the companies on LinkedIn to see if they would respond to me, and then start off with emails first, cold, and then just keep following up, like, hey, did you get my last email?
Do you have any no
Yeah.
responses? Just curious.
I haven't, because the way I like followed up, just kind of summarizing what we talked about, was like, I'm gonna like share your point, like share your contact information to like Agile, and then from there they would be reaching out. But I kind of want to see if we could be connected to someone with Agile, so that way there's like a, not just through like the project, but just, so that's something I'll try to work on. Gonna see like within, and if there's anything like your contact, she didn't respond on LinkedIn.
I mean, maybe for favoritism or something, they just like, hey, we can't interact with you directly, only through the.
Got it. I didn't
Maybe
think
I don't know. I'm just speculating because I think everybody was saying, "Oh, they're not responding." But hey, it's a competition at the end of the day, so there's a little bit more nuance to it. But I think I like your idea of following up, like
Yeah. Well,
seeing it through.
I think through the interviews, I definitely built like rapport and like connection with some of the people like that worked for the company, like the company's organization. So it's more of just kind of like respect, just like, hey, like, I know we talked about this. If nobody's reached out, like, this is like a contact. I think it's just good to follow up to make it seem like it wasn't like, we use the term transactional relationship, meaning like, even though this was for a project, we are really interested in seeing like the potential and growth of a partnership between like them and Agile. I think in that way it would just show that our efforts were a lot more genuine.
Because they were. The partnership portion was definitely the most kind of relationship building, like interaction piece, and I think we all wanted them to be successful partnerships. I mean, at least that's the way I saw it.
I agree.
Rodrigo came up with the list for Amy to execute.
I got inspired because somebody mentioned a list in the meeting. So I just said, oh, if a list makes a lot of sense in order to be like a very practical and solid evidence of partnerships. That's how it came with that. I just was looking in Chrome or surveying partnerships that will come and have connections with the values and activities that Agile does. So I was searching for, incubators, NGOs, public organizations, other enterprises. And after all that research, I just came along with some very specific ones because I've been reading either of articles or their own web pages that they were basically aligned with all the values of Agile. So I summarize that. I type a fraction of those organizations, but I think that Amy also complemented with some other ones. So that's basically how that started.
Yeah, I think from your list, I just try to look up their contact information, and then I shared like Rodrigo's list with Ermias, who also had some ideas of like 2 organizations to reach out to, and one of them, he was like, oh, like, do a lot of projects, maybe reach out to the startups. And then my approach was like, that's going to be a lot of startups to reach out to. Why don't I reach out to the main organization that works with these startups? So.
Describe Unsung Heroes a little bit, because I think that like captures the nature of why we chose these types of organizations, like Rodrigo was talking about. Like the values that they have are similar to Agile, because they're like incubators and think tanks and idea generators and like trying to sponsor innovation. I think it just aligned naturally, and Agile was not like blind to that kind of notion. Like they knew they were trying to target these types of partners. So we selected those partners and those types of partners. What they already called out, and 2, which was like a natural value fit. And I think Unsung Heroes, like just we stumbled upon them because like I think from a Google search found like they were like,
that was you. That was you found it.
I mean, I found it through pure luck. I was like, I was like looking for startups that were doing like humanitarian type innovation. And then Unsung Heroes, I thought it was just some spam website that just had a list of startups that they were like, just had some AI generated content that they were trying to boost, revenues or something from their ad traffic. That's what I thought when I came across them. And then you dug deeper and were like, they're an incubator. They're like, they kind of like are helping grow these startups. So I thought that was an interesting find. I didn't dig deep enough. Yeah, Amy,
I think
you had the idea, I think.
Like they help us as a sponsor and we help them back as a promoter. It's like a good karma circulating.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Yeah, I think apart from like as important as the partnership and sponsorship, also getting the numbers right and having a convincing forecast is as important. And to these, I would give the credit and the time for Aditi and Ermias because you guys have did it within the rush hours, very limited resources. You guys made a forecast. Would you like to share a bit about the experience?
Yeah, sure.
No, Aditi, that you kind of had the dissection there at the end. That was very, very clever analysis. So you go for it.
So basically, an amazing template to work with, I would say, from Jason. But on its own, like just had to sit together, make sense of it. It involves a lot of points where we constantly throwing out numbers, seeing where inflation numbers are, where growth is expected, making it ambitious, and then reworking back and forth. I think we probably spent figuring out how they act, how they forecast, and also into our KPIs, overall objectives of the proposal itself. And it was just a fantastic process for me even to understand the financial aspects of everything and how it's impacted through marketing, through the agile digital, through the partnerships, through the incubators, through just the. And so that's how we actually arrived at the goal. But it's been 2 weeks, so I don't remember. I was like,
Yeah, I know. It was it to me, it kind of fell into place right at the end. And I think Aditi, you mentioned this. It's like we need to get everything together in order to kind of like tell the complete story. And I think that financial picture, when you and I sat down to kind of look at what Jason had put together in that Excel sheet, we were really like surprised. Okay, here's how we're gonna. Okay, the partnerships. How do they contribute financially? And then like how are we gonna grow? What are we growing? And it's like certainly finances is like a big part of that. Even though this is like not a revenue generating team, they're bringing in some sort of external value. And we were like, okay, made some assumptions about it. And then you kind of put it together and like, hey, aggressive marketing plan. We're going aggressive on marketing. We knew that in our strategy for our growth plan. How's that growing us revenue wise? And how does that balance out? And you kind of like, it just came together. And then like we put some numbers and like you said, aggressive. We want an aggressive growth plan. I think it's achievable just based on the success we've had in a month. So I think it was like very interesting to see it. And I think it was like a 38 growth in that 5 years and like a 30, I think it was like average growth rate. I think the continuous average growth rate was like 30. So we were doing that year over year. We're expecting that with an aggressive partnership growth strategy, but who knows how it equates to real value in the end. But I think a partnership, the way that they're positioning themselves is like a partnership. And we saw that in the trends for NGOs, right? Like NGOs are moving towards this partnership model. So it makes a lot of sense.
Been moving from that donorship sort of source towards partnership. And I can see that.
Yeah. Even businesses too these days, it's like there's more connectedness, right? It's not like businesses aren't just like out there competing with one another. It's like they're competing to generate value. So I think NGOs kind of, obviously that's really what their focus is, creating value to the community. So
I think we were very conscious of is how Agile, although it's a part of Oxfam, it's still something very different in terms of its goals, objectives, and how it's an enabler for what Oxfam wants to achieve globally. But in essence, we treated it or approached it like a tech hub as an agency within Oxfam. I think that was the North Star that kept us on track and kind of differentiated, considering the financial aspect, the data that is from your NGO, to sort of how do they enable that for?
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, definitely, like when we stepped into this, we were like, we got to think differently about the team that we're kind of proposing this for, and like, what is their mission and objectives, and how does that like marginally differ from Oxfam's objectives? Which I thought, we had that mindset. I think that was like an important mindset for us to have landed on. And I don't know, just like thinking about other teams' involvement, like if they all landed on that same conclusion or did they kind of like lump everything together? I'm curious to see how other teams' mindsets were when they approached it.
Like Hillary really contributed to our across the numbers and KPIs. Was also just mapping out very strategically the brief into what we wanted to do, just define what we're going to present, ensuring that we hit the brief every step of the way. That map, and I think Freeform, Ermias, that was the tool that you started off with. So putting that together really laid out deliverables. And
I think the brief, just going back to your comments on the brief, Aditi, it was like when we first looked at the brief, we're like, this is way too much. right? It's like so much that, and then at the end when we started to bring everything together, I was like, oh, I think the ask was reasonable based on what I think they're trying to actually achieve. And I think I really hope that we just kind of really landed on that from all the hard work, and like it wasn't luck. When I first saw this challenge, I was like, this brief is completely off the wall. Like, what are they asking? It seemed like all the requests were just disparate requests. But when we came together in our plan, I think it just seemed like it actually made a lot of sense.
It took out the overwhelming fear. It was growing towards the end, but it did take that sense of being overwhelmed with everything you have to do as a team spread out across the globe. So I think when that was taken care of, it was easier for us, like Amy and Rodrigo, to take their part, you to take yours, Hillary to take hers, kind of divided and conquered and came together, partnered. So it does help that mindset approach any project.
Yeah, definitely. Agreed.
Yeah, another thing that I like about partnership is that we provided a checklist and how to come up with a score for their reference. We basically build up everything that we're suggesting on evidence.
Yeah, I mean, that was a strong connection. I agree. And that checklist
Yeah.
was a good find. I wonder if they're using something like that. When I first saw that, I was like, okay, well, they have someone in partnerships. Like, how are they evaluating partners? And do they have like an objective way already? If not, I mean, I think it's really powerful. Certainly something to consider, in other NGO or other nonprofits. Like, how are they partnering? How do they value partners? And if they're not partnering, I'm looking at the nonprofit I work with, and I'm like, hey, let's start forming partnerships. Like, why not? Right? Like, start looking at it a little more globally, like the impact that they can have. So I'm going to start using that checklist.
Very helpful. And also, I'm going through our PowerPoint again on my end right now. I'm amazed by the coloring and also the sorting function that Aditi put it together with like different types of symbols for the KPI indication page.
Pretty aesthetic PowerPoint. Definitely.
Yeah, I think what we tried to do was amalgamate not only Harvard's sort of branding, but also Oxfam and Agile that way. And so if you see even in the marketing slide, what we approached was the narratives are very color-coded to Agile's approach. We kept it extremely simple, extremely linear. Just if someone is seeing it for the first time, how do we deliver that clarity of everything that all brings?
Yeah, I think the colors, that was a nice twist we had in there. I think it looked great, even with the red. I think it was in a good aesthetically pleasing PowerPoint. I don't think I've produced anything like that for work yet. It seems like my PowerPoints always end up dry and just to the point. Maybe with Didi, your marketing PowerPoints probably are a little bit prettier.
They are. So I was still limited by template as good with your funnel as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking about how difficult it is to put strategy on a page, and it's so easy to get into 3 slides, 4 slides, 5 slides to deliver on like a very high level strategic output. And so I'm very pleased with how in our presentation we were able to deliver that throughout the presentation, whether it's approaching the marketing strategy, the agile strategy, the partnership strategy. I think it took a lot of rework and synthesis just to get that to where it is in the submission. I hope that it's easy for the audience and Oxfam and the judging panel to sort of understand, comprehend, and really see the work that we put into that.
Yeah, I think, and I want to ask this question to anyone who wants to answer it, but like going back, I wish somehow, like if I had one thing to change, I mean, synthesis was great. I think we did get everything into like the concise format, and I think the story is there. I wish from the intro that we told that bigger picture of like how we did, I think, with the KPIs. I just think of like how they tied together. I think between like partnerships and growth and finances, and then the marketing and how it's attracting partners. So I think like having like an entry slide, and I think we had room to do it, we just didn't have time, but like having, hey, this is the picture that I think they were driving for, and how we landed on our, not just our strategy, but like the growth plan in general. So it was kind of like, I think there was just one miss there that we like leading them in with that picture. We just didn't, I don't think we did that really well if they were just reading the PowerPoints, right? But certainly if we present it, we could tell the story.
Yeah, I can say that the closing slide that was put together, and I think Amy, you fed into it as well, which was just, addressing the big picture, making it more cause related and how it's impacting Oxfam as well eventually. I think if we had that slide prior to doing the intro slide, we would have been able to tie it, to that in a better way. But I think that last slide definitely captures a bit of what you're saying, Ermias.
Yeah, I think that idea came at the end there when some of your best ideas tend to come is at the end. So I think an entry point slide like that one would have been great.
Yeah.
I think was how I was envisioning it as well. Did you guys feel like you left anything?
I think we did have, like from Dolores, a few samples which we put into the appendix in terms of samples, but I think there was a way we could have like taken it a step further and actually templated out like you did with the checklist and some of the emails for partnerships, given them an executable template or work strategy, I think would have been really helpful to them. But maybe that's the next step for them to take on, or which we can partner with even after this project. But I think that was one thing which I was like, I wish I could have had just a bit more time to sort of deliver on that.
Yeah, I did. Like, I saw the potential in it, like what we put in the appendix. Like, I saw it and I was like, there's like a little bit more to be done there. And I agree with you on that. Just like a little more we could, like, I think just like another half day.
Layer, yeah.
Another half day, we could have got it.
I think that on the partnership side, it would have been really cool to see Rodrigo's potential interview with another organization, the Peruvian Incubator. So it would have been awesome to see like, what was the outcome and then what were some of their ideas or needs as far as potentially being like a partner.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I had this little interview with one of my peers in my university, actually, which was working with one incubator, TPSI here, but they didn't have enough time to have like a more formal one. So I just talked with her that, yeah, you're right. I mean, that will have been very good.
Yeah, I mean, we could have, in a month to develop a partnership, it's probably tough, but I think we did like our due diligence on TPSI still could come through for them, we don't know what it's going to end up like. I'm going to start tracking their pages to see if they have like a partnership page that they put together like specifically for Agile or for their incubator partners. I'm going to like visit their website occasionally to see how they translate.
I think for me, it would be really cool if the outcome of this project is something we can see in a tangible form, like how the strategy comes to life and if it enables Agile in any way to move the needle along everything they want to achieve. For me, that would be like a true win.
I agree. Yeah. Because, winning the competition and then like if they have a LinkedIn profile in like a couple months and that we see them like marketing some of those, that would be cool. I would take that as a win.
Yeah, it's like rather than a project, it's more like as consultants, like we approached the entire project as professional consultants and sort of gave them strategy that they can implement. It's actionable from day one. I think that was the other goal that sort of drove us as well. So, I mean, that would be fantastic to witness over the next few years, I would say. Hopefully we outdid our competition.
I know. I think that, like I hope that, all of us suggested good things that they take away from it, but I do hope that we kind of nailed it, right? I really feel like we did, and I hope that like we nailed it enough to kind of get the acknowledgement for that in the competition win. And Amy and I talked about this because I was very focused on winning the competition, and it was like, you just learn from the journey, and I was like, okay, she's right. There's a journey here that I should be appreciating more.
I think for me, the reason like I'm focused on the journey is my favorite part of the experience is the energy. I think the energy of everyone just really open and willing to learn, that growth mindset. So I think that's what made the project so fun. Like my motto is like, if you're really going to invest a lot of time into something, it should be fun. It should be like gratifying. I mean, I guess to some people winning is fun, the energy of everyone, meaning everyone's excited, motivated, because that's something that we can all like during hardship of like waking up really early in the morning, that you have a cheerleader. You're like, hey, we got this. Let's keep going. So.
And that's why we need all sorts of talent in the team, like someone who cares for that energy and looks for it and ensures the calls are going the way they should. We need like Hillary's energy in terms of making sure everyone's at task and everyone knows exactly what they're going to do. Rodrigo bringing up those amazing lists and all the partnerships that we could initiate. Ermias is really focused on collectively bringing and honestly leading the calls in a way that moving everything forward. I think that was super critical. And And so I think we had a hashtag at one point, winning team, where we were like, I think Ermias and I were just focused on like the win.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, just driven,
Yeah.
super driven. So different types of energy at different points of the initiative itself. I think throughout all those collaborative times, like that energy, that, willingness to learn is super important. But come those last 2 days or 48 hours, like you really just need to be driven to complete it. At one point, I think both of us just wanted to give up. Like we were like, we can't do this. It's so much work. Midnight oil, early morning oil. But it was, I guess when you get past that the adrenaline kicks in and you just move.
Yeah, it's a great call outs, because that give up, like there was a moment I was like, why am I doing this? I was like, what's the point? Like, and not that I didn't think it was important. It's just like, it was so much work. I was like, why did I add this to the workflow that I had? But it was work. I think, kind of tying in Amy's, we're doing it for a good cause. And certainly I had to kind of remind myself of that. What we're doing this for is kind of beyond just the scope of the community challenge.
Yeah.
And then like you said, like the different energies and the different skills, the different mindsets, like, it just like, I forgot that midway through. Same thing. I was like, it's a struggle to get everybody's thoughts into the room and make sure we're applying them correctly and making sure we're like acknowledging all of those ideas and like trying to fit them in, because like there was no one idea that just came out as like a top, like this is exactly what we need to do. It was just like, let's synthesize what we have, synthesize our ideas, and then like make them into the project format. So it's like it required that kind of like innovative capacity, that like the different mindsets to really pull it together. So I couldn't see it when it was happening. It's hard to see it while it's happening, I think is really the point I'm trying to make. At the end, like you said, those last 48 hours when it came together.
I would also say that I think 2/3 of the way, deciding that anyone who came up with a new idea or suggestion had to back it up with actual work in the deck or in the project. That really helped, in a way, keep the team focused and ensure we're not in those multiple directions, because it's so easy to do. I did share an image earlier with Ermias during our project of an elephant, and there's 6 people looking at it, one at the tail, one at the tusk, one at the trunk, one at the body. And it's like everyone just sees that part. But so one thinks it's a wall, one thinks it's a rope, one thinks it's a sword. But eventually you have to keep that 15-foot vision to know the entire picture, to keep it together, keep it on track. So I think that's the other thing that just, brought everything together towards the end.
I kind of noticed that too, like in having your jobs, right? Like at work, it's almost like you have so many people working on a vision, so it becomes clear. But like in these types of group environments where it's like you're spinning up a group like a committee or some, like for us, a project group, where the deliverables are unclear, you have so many minds contributing to the vision, it's like hard to rein it in unless, like you said, Aditi, if you have an idea, go ahead and build that thing out and support and like build the support for it, right? So that way we can see it more clearly from your perspective. Because like I know that's one thing too, if I learned from this, it's like I had the vision early on, so I learned that as like a learning opportunity for me. It's like I see it in my head clearly, but I have to make sure that everybody sees it clearly. Yeah. I think I missed an opportunity. Certainly like time constraints probably contributed to that. But now I see clearly, I think going into like the different areas that I'm working on now, whether it's like the nonprofit work or committees at work that I'm working on, it's like take your vision and get it early into a form that people can consume it and see it. And I think that was, for me, was like one thing I took away from this experience.
I definitely agree about gatekeeping the content. And so I was very anxious from the get start about getting the PowerPoint together, because we have people from all different divisions. And in some area, we even lack the talents to help out. So I was like, should I be a generalist and just, just poke my finger in as a curious kid to like fill up the words, but not like, spoiling the whole cake. That's also a thing that I need to keep myself in control within. And I understand and seeing myself could sort of improve my communication a bit better, maybe. Like I just used to being direct and assertive. And basically, my Cantonese instinct, I would just go and poke people around and say things very plain language. Like, if you want data, you go to Rodrigo. If you want finance, you go to
But Hillary,
Jason.
You were really instrumental in all of that. I think building that transparency, making it direct, ensuring everyone knew their responsibilities at every step of the way. You were really instrumental in not only putting that energy into the project and making sure there's momentum, but also that each person knew exactly what they're responsible for. And there were times, I mean, you have to be the bad guy at some times, you know, when you're in that sort of a role or when you assume that role. And so, like, you really did a fantastic job just moving things along, making sure it's on track and keeping things together. I think it was super tight. Without you, it probably wouldn't move.
Thank you.
I agree. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't feel bad being yeah.
I kind of agree with that. Like Hillary and early on, I told you, it was like, you're going to have to keep us on task. Like that's kind of like how I saw you kind of fitting into the team dynamic. And I think you did that really well. And I noticed early on too, in like the type of person that I am, like I work well with people like that, right? The project management or the people that are like really on the detail and task focused kind of thing. Like I'm more on like the fluidity of the team dynamic, and I like to see the ideas come together and help propel them. So like that's what I'm like good at, and I kind of suck at the organize. I'm trying to get better at those, but I don't see boundaries well. I like to be everywhere, so like I like to be in every part of the project and like see how the pieces are coming together rather than being like hyper focused on delivery and execution of like one particular thing. And that, I mean, that's probably works against me in the engineering field that I'm in because that's very metric focused. But I kind of realized that over the last like maybe 5 years of my career. It's like this is kind of like, I like the strategy pieces. I like to see bigger picture, and I like to see the team come together to deliver that kind of stuff. And working through my own challenges and my own growth was definitely a part of this experience for me.
Highlight was Ermias, just the way you conducted the calls in terms of making sure everyone feels included. I think that was a standout for me. There was no bad idea. It was a safe space. Everyone could bring their thoughts or their ideas and discuss them. So I think for me that was like a fantastic takeaway of your leadership, honestly. So that was just lovely to witness.
That touches my heart because like I feel like that's how I wanted to evolve like my leadership brand, is to really do that, because I think that that's going to be important in like the wave of AI and the way that like, you know, things are changing in the environment that we all are working in. It's like this human connection and the ideas that we have, that's like what we can contribute to the world eventually, right? AI is going to take over a lot of the kind of minutia and the details, and we're just going to be focused on how do we benefit the rest of the humanity. And together, that's like our brains and our collective intelligence is like what we need to foster and grow. So that's how I kind of see not only just like the way the world is moving, but I think leadership in general, right, is like about bringing people together. And so I think that's, and just your feedback on that, I think Amy, you gave me similar feedback, and it really, I think to me, it's a really high compliment to hear that. So thank you.
It's your openness to include everyone. And I think the biggest strength is like you listen really well, because you listen so intently that you're like, I see where you're going with this, but how about this? So you acknowledge like everyone's efforts and contribution, but then you're like, but how about we look at it from this? Like, do you like, because you don't even know the answer, but you're like, but something could come out of that.
Yeah.
Because I think one idea was like, you know, Amy, I really like that approach of partnership checklists. Like, how do we actually vet partners? You know, like, why don't you go explore a little bit more? Like, you don't know the answer, but you're like, let's just focus on that and see what ideas come out.
I think listening, it took me a long time to get like, to start to develop that. And I still think there's an endless well, but I really do see that it's like a cheat code, right? Because like other people's ideas are what makes the best idea come out. It's like, maybe it's not their particular idea, it's the evolution of that idea. And so like if you have 20 ideas in the room, you have 20 potential points of power and potential ideas, and fostering those together as quickly as you can, because like obviously like Aditi, like you said, down to the wire, you got to make everything actionable. But if you can start to like paint that picture quickly, and I think figuring out a way to make it faster is like the key. So get the idea out there, let's talk about it, let's make sure we have it vetted, and and then other people vet each other's ideas. So I think that's a powerful dynamic that as a leader or anybody in a project, you have to see that happening and then harness it and then make it better. And I think listening is just the key to that. Like it's hearing it, really hearing it and seeing it from the other person's perspective. That's the only way it can get out there in the right way. That's how I see it, at least. Powerful conversation. We should
Sunday morning.
Yeah, let's start writing for
Yeah,
AGILE.
we actually never debriefed afterwards. So this is like kind of, to your point, that high of like working and communicating so consistently and then no contact.
I needed a break though. I want to be honest. I was like,
Same.
yeah.
I was like, I have to be really careful of what I say yes to.
I learned that too. I was like, shoot, I think I was like, yeah, for me, that was like time management of the last 4 months would have been a very big challenge for me. I thought that I was just learning time management, but I think I was like testing the boundary. It was like part of it. I was like, how much can I take on at one time?
Yeah.
This certainly pushed it over the edge, right? I think with this project. And I was like, okay, I found there's a limit. I got a limit. Now I need to figure
You
out.
found the limit? Are you sure?
I think so. I mean, unless I get an assistant or something, like I have a full-time hire, I don't think I can take on anymore. There's just no way.
I want to ask everybody to describe your experience in this project. A name of a song. I recall, you remember, Ermias, we were talking on the phone, like, basically before, maybe 24 or 48 hours before the finishing line. I was like, final countdown! And then we were even humming on the phone about it.
Yeah.
So, my theme song for this whole project is Final Countdown.
One song, I'm thinking, I like to think out loud, so that's probably why I'm not as good. I'm going to come up with this one. Let me see what were my emotions. Certainly Final Countdown describes that. I mean, my latest memory of it, right? Just like to the wire.
For me, at least, although like I'm not thinking of any particular song at this point, but one song that's coming to my mind is One More Time. I think I was like, one more time, let me go into it one more time, let me cut it one more time, let me look at it one more time. So one more time. That's what I'm thinking about right now. Not that I thought of it during the process though.
I think
Rodrigo, would you be coming up with Spanish songs now? I remember we were so desperate in communicating things, and like because sometimes it's not our first language, we sometimes just use our home language. Like there was one meeting with Dolores, we were trying to talk about some marketing idea, and we were just not getting it. And I said, "Excuse me, let me talk Chinese." And then I jumped back and forth, but like afterwards I found out actually I made a mistake in my translation. So not even I made a correct answer in translation. Yeah, that was a really memorable time.
Speaking of translate, I remember you were speaking with Dolores. I wish she was here for some of this conversation, but you were speaking to her in your like first language, right? Just to translate something that somebody was saying, and I was like, this is a pretty cool project. Get to hear the translation happening. I always wonder how I come across to non-English native speakers, like if I'm able to convey my idea clearly, that they can understand it. Certainly, like I work with a lot of people from Latin America, so Spanish, like speakers, but not really many Chinese native speakers at all. Like it's never been somebody I worked with, but it was a good experience working with you. I'm going to go with Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen song. Just, I'll throw that out there. I think it's kind of like, it resembled our project a little bit. It's just like this hodgepodge of music. Thunderbolts and lightning. Very, very, and then kind of the urgency behind it, like the tempo. And then like it just comes together. It's a really beautiful song. It's kind of all these bits of different types of music strung together with great vocal changes pace frequently throughout the songs. I kind of like that as a song for us. Describe the project.
Nice.
I don't have a song, but I think of the journey of everyone working on this project as if we could have been in a musical, because there are certain points like sidebar conversations. If someone made a video or a movie, like someone probably would start singing.
Yeah.
Like one of my like calls with you, Ermias, like there were birds chirping in the background out of nowhere. You're like, you can hear them. Like, yeah, birds are chirping in the background.
I like to walk around and be outside when I'm thinking, so it's my style. You heard the bird.
Yeah. I recall one time, I think you were walking the dog, or you called me back after you walked the dog, Ermias. Yeah.
I do. That's
Like your effort to show up for us is just really appreciative.
yeah. My motivations are, I don't know, sometimes for me winning was the motivation, but you know, I felt like I would let people down if I didn't show up. That's kind of what motivated me there. It's like, I can't, we got to finish this. And I was like, someone's got to step in and show up and be there every day. And I think Hillary did that, Aditi, everybody really. I mean, this whole group, Jason, who's not here, Dolores even, and then, you know, people showed up to every meeting on Sunday. So, I mean, we all kind of really had to do that.
Concept, which is learning, because I really learned a lot in this project beyond the results. Well, of course, I would like to win, but beyond that, I just kind of surprised because everything started with a message to Hillary saying, "Hey, Hillary, what is this group about?" Because all started with a YouTube podcast. It wasn't the community challenge at first. And I was just like, I didn't even expect a message from Hillary. It was just, okay, I will try it. Let's see what happens. And all of it. Okay, so, well, I have been doing similar projects in my university, but not like this one. This one was a very consolidated one. And also, in my case, my particular case, it was my speaking skills in English. It's not really good as writing skills. So in my case, I learned like I have to be forced to learn because you all will all speak in English. And I was okay, what I'm saying this. And I remember sometimes I was kind of just making comments, but in a sense of questioning if that's what you were saying or not, because I wanted to be really sure about what we were commenting. So the other pilot, for example, from Ermias was lifesavers to me because okay, I will go with this and I will understand what it is. That I can find a song even in Spanish. Okay, in Spanish, learn it's aprender. To me, like
Aprender.
learning, yeah, it's like very difficult to find a song because I haven't really. Well, at first, I don't have a good memory for songs.
Me.
I just went. And second one, I don't find any song with that word, with those words, with learning, you know? Even in Spanish. I don't. But at the end, my words, okay, if I can use that as a resource, will be learning time because I really learned a lot from you guys. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I have taken you. I mean, I have sort of hijacked you on this like adventure journey. And if you guys recall these messages that I've sent once, like just like Aditi said one more time, I recall I said I referenced a song name called "Understand the Assignment" in one of my messaging like to Rodrigo. It was a little bit, I don't know, a bit harsh at some point if we just see the word black and white, you know. It's you know, are you understanding the assignment?
Yeah.
But honestly, my heart was singing the song. It's you know, I meant us, everyone putting so much effort in. I would love to see us winning.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Rodrigo.
All right, let's
I was just gonna say,
Shall we-
Rodrigo, one thing. I recognized when you asked questions, what your intention was. I think oftentimes you really were trying to further your understanding and make sure you're seeing it clearly. And I kind of realized that midway through the project. I was like, he's asking good questions. I think he just needs some clarification. So I did realize that. You can speak up if you don't understand something. Be like, hey, I don't understand it. I think you'll eventually learn that. You're still growing in your career. So just make sure when you do get into the working world, Rodrigo, you speak your mind and ask questions and don't be afraid to say you don't understand something.
Yeah, thank you. You're kind, yeah. I really like your. I mean, you were like a shoulder to me, you know. It's like, okay, if I don't understand this, I go to mine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm there.
it was really nice. Like, thank you, Ermias.
You're
You
welcome.
really helped understand all.
And Rodrigo, you are a really fast learner, honestly. It's
Oh,
amazing to see how quick you learn and like take up the task and define the question, and then you came up with the Excel list for Amy to execute, you know? It's all, every step of the way we are witnessing each other's growth. So I'm very appreciative to this project and like having you guys side by side and, you know, across different time zones. This common goal that draw us together, I'm forever grateful for it. Yeah.
That's it.
Same.
Are we gonna go for a slogan and then release it out there?
Yeah, if you put what did we have as a slogan? We had some idea. We had a slogan in one of the.
We did.
It never made it into the final submission, but I think I'll remember the.
We
team.
trimmed it off. 70 pages of slides. We only trim it off to like, you know, all the contents.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we started as a YouTube. Someone said it. We started as like we're going to do a YouTube channel. I think we hijacked it with the community challenge a little bit, but it was worth it. I think it was going to be. It's worth it. I learned a lot. I hope we win. You know, selfishly, like I think it looks good to win stuff, but certainly those who are trying to go to MBA school, like this was a great project I think to put on there. So,
Yes. Slogan: Go Agile, stay agile.
Stay agile. That's a great one.
Stay agile.
Sweet. Well, what do you guys think? I mean, Hillary, did we get enough content, you think?
You gotta drop before you drop. Yay! Awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. See you guys soon.
Yeah,
We'll stay in touch.
It was a pleasure working with you guys too, by the way. I just want to acknowledge that again.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.